Mercedes just shut down 2 factories here in China in preparation for, now these 2 factories, the first factory is for their gasoline cars. Not too interested, they're doing maintenance and upgrades. But the second factory, that factory only produces EVs and they're shutting it down. But think about it this way. If the future is all going to be EVs, why would you pull the plug unless you've lost confidence in your product? And right now, as it stands, it looks like they don't want to sell those products anymore here in China. The EQ series. Now, the official statement is citing poor results and poor sales. If you look at Mercedes and their EVs, throughout August, they only sold 1 EQC. Their entire EV sales for August was only 2,613, which was only 13.5% of what Nio delivered in August. The discrepancy is massive. Can you imagine if Nio delivered only that amount of EVs? You guys would be flipping tables. Now, according to reports, they've pretty much given up on the EQ series here in China. It is deemed a failure. Now, obviously, Mercedes still plans to sell EVs in the future. But the question now becomes, what will the next platform be? Will it be on Nio's battery swap platform? Now, I know you guys are a little bit disappointed that the Mercedes deal didn't happen at the IAA event, but it's been postponed. According to people familiar with the matter within Nio, 90% sure it's going to happen. It's just a lot of things are held under NDA and they can't talk about it. Perhaps they can't announce it until the factory in China is ready to produce those EVs. But first they gotta shut down the factory for the existing EV production. Now, there are a few possible hiccups to this and we gotta address these, and it's very important. First of all, it is the fact that Germany's chancellor said that German companies should not be afraid of Chinese EVs. And he's launching new programs to support Germany's EV and the automobile companies in Germany, mainly because car exports are still very important to the German economy, which has not been doing that well. And the second possible hiccup is, of course, right now the EU Commission President said that they're investigating China for over-subsidized EVs that are being sold in Europe, quoting that it's very cheap and they're pricing competitors out of the market because they're so cheap and heavily subsidized, over-subsidized. And apparently that's a problem. My response to that is the EVs in Europe are much more expensive than here in China. Nios are more expensive in Europe than in China. BYDs are more expensive in Europe than in China. That is complete BS. Even shipping costs a ton of money to get their cars there. What they are afraid of is Chinese companies upsetting the status quo. It's the same thing that the Americans are afraid of. Think about the double standard here. It's okay for them to sell cars here in China and be absolutely fine and dandy with it. But at the moment that China starts producing good cars and trying to sell it in EU or in the West, that becomes a problem. So going back to the Mercedes deal, you got to understand that Mercedes needs Nio more than Nio needs Mercedes. Because these traditional auto companies, they have hundreds of years of experience making internal combustion engine vehicles. There's no way in hell that China can ever produce a gasoline car that's better than the Germans, period. But that has got them complacent. So the phrase that Chinese use over here is 弯道超车, overtaking them through the turn. And that turn, of course, is the shift towards EVs. And now what you see is all these Chinese companies, they placed down a ton of R&D money, a ton of getting all the patents, all the technology, doing everything right, to the extent that the product is just so much better in terms of EV. There's been multiple reports about Mercedes EQ owners. There was one EQC owner. He drove his car for 10 days and then it broke down and had to be towed back to the service center. And it just shows that, yes, in gasoline cars, Mercedes and all those guys are up here. But in terms of EVs, Mercedes, they're not even on the same tier as Nio and the other guys. They're getting wiped out. And factory closing, that is being wiped out. These German companies are realizing that when it comes to EVs, they can no longer compete. Audi has realized that. and they're partnering with IM to produce cars. Volkswagen realized that, partnering with Xpeng to produce cars. Mercedes realized that, and their factory is already shut down. So guys, it's not a question of if, it's a question of when. The NDA is solid, tight, but the ground is shifting so fast. You guys might not realize it, but here in China, you can feel the ground shaking. And guys, it's not me pumping Nio stock, it's just a harsh reality. Mercedes survived for 100 plus years. If they want to survive another 100 years, they gotta adapt. And right now, the EQ series is pretty much dead. That's strike one. How many more strikes do you think Mercedes can handle? If they want to ever survive this, they absolutely have to partner up with a company like Nio to produce EVs with the latest technology. Otherwise, they might not make it for the next 100 years. That is just the harsh reality of it, guys. I've said this before and I'll say it once again. Nio's vehicles are worth much more than what they cost, just in terms of the quality of materials, etc. If you switch the badge, for example, to a BMW badge or a Mercedes badge, then the same level of interior and everything, quality, full aluminum chassis, the price would be easily double of what it is that Nio is charging right now by simply switching out the badge. That is the level of difference that these traditional automakers are competing against in terms of the luxury EV segment. In the luxury EV segment, Nio is number one right now in terms of sales. So the grounds are shifting rapidly here in China, and big things are about to happen. Now, it's very important that we listen to what William Li said during the earnings call, and it was in the very last bit, so some of you guys may have missed this. William Li said, overall speaking, we are very open to all kinds of cooperation with peers in the industry. But so far, we don't have much information to update or share with you. But if you look at our smart technologies as well as our charging and swapping networks, actually we aim to use these technologies to capitalize the transformation of the entire industry. As we've also announced at Power Day 2023, we are willing to open up our next generation battery technologies as well as our charging and swapping networks to the entire industry. Right now, we are in some initial communications with certain OEMs. They are also thinking about using our battery technologies for swapping networks. But to use our technologies, they need to adapt their products to our standards, which can take some time for them to make the final decisions. But overall speaking, we are very open to all kinds of cooperation. And who do you think that OEM is? Of course, Mercedes. And with sales slumping and factory closing, Mercedes needs this deal more than ever.